What's up, guys? We're back in Run 8, and we're going to be taking on Cajon Pass today. We're going back in time to around 1981, maybe 80, somewhere in there, the early 80s, and we're going to be taking an export coal train down the pass for the UP on the South Track. So this should be a lot of fun. It's definitely where like man meets mountain on the railroad, right? Cajon Pass is one of the premier railfan locations in the United States, and definitely one of the steepest runs in the United States as well too. So like I said, we're back in probably 81 or 80. This train is called the DBLB. It's run by the UP. Of course, the UP had trackage rights on over Cajon Pass. This is pre-SP merger, right? So everyone is separate. UP had trackage rights over to Santa Fe down to Riverside, and believe it or not, LA exported a fair amount of coal over the years. It hasn't been consistent, but there's been stretches or spurts where they've exported a good bit. And there's been multiple export locations out of LA and Long Beach as well too. So a lot of that coal went to, I think mostly to the Pacific Rim, to like South Korea and Japan back in the day. Maybe some of it may have gone to Australia, I'm not sure, but I think the Pacific Rim, like Japan and Korea, were the main two. With all that being said, before we take this beast down, let's look at it real quick, what we got here. So the DBLB was basically a joint kind of like Rio Grande and UP thing. It was loaded up in Banning, Utah, and then taken down to LA, to Long Beach to be exported. We've got 70 cars. From what I could tell, the standard export train size back then was about 70 cars, I think, for the UP and Rio Grande, give or take. I think later on the SP made, I think their standard train was 84. I could be wrong on that, but we're running with 70 cars, and it's roughly, let's look at our stats here. 70 loads, one empty, which is going to be our caboose. We got 9,100 tons, 9,168. And you can see we got us a nice mix of Rio Grande coal hoppers here. We'll go back to the bottom. So we're going to say down at, I guess at Victorville, or maybe even Barstow. I'm not sure where the Santa Fe helpers were put on at, but we've got two Santa Fe SD45-2s. This is somewhat based on something that I saw in real life. There's actually, someone had a picture of a Santa Fe SD45-2 that was the bicentennial units, was actually in helper service over Cajon. So that's pretty cool. So I just did two of the older units because I like this scheme. And then we got our cab on the bottom. Of course, that rule's changed a lot over the years. Sometimes the cab's been ahead of the helper, you know, but the crew has to ride in the helper. Sometimes it's on the bottom, but the crew can ride in the cab. So I think that's changed like several times over the years. So we're going to have it on the bottom today. I'm not exactly sure what they were doing in 1980 or 81 at that time, because like I said, it was constantly changing. Let's go into the details. Let's get to like the nuts and bolts of getting this thing down the grade at 9,100 tons. So what I want to figure out is tons per operative brake. Now that was a term they didn't have back in the day. Like that didn't come along until later, but we're going to go ahead and figure that out for ourselves. So we're going to take, let me get my calculator up here. We're going to take 9168 and divide it by 70 cars. And that's going to be 130 tons per operative brake. That's going to be important because we're going to look at some information on that. Some vintage information, not current information. This is going way back. Vintage information. So we're going to say 130 tons per operative brake. I know the engines didn't count, but I'm not sure about the cab. I'm not sure if a caboose would count in that as well too. We're not going to count it. So we're going to say 130. Either way, it's not going to make that much of a difference. The next thing we're going to look at is the Santa Fe employee timetable from October the 25th, 1981. Let's get that pulled up real fast. There we go. Yeah, Los Angeles and Los Angeles Terminal Divisions. Oh, nose is itching for some reason. Timetable number 12, Sunday, October 25th, 1981. This is pretty cool. This is a good throwback, right? And it's online. It's amazing the stuff that you can find online. So let's go down to the first division. or 1st District, I should say. Here we go. Los Angeles Division, 1st District. Barstow to San Bernardino. Excuse me. All right. A little different back then. There was no Martinez. Even though we're at Martinez now, there was no Martinez back then. Let's go to the rules here that we need. We'll zoom it in a little bit. It says TCS is in effect on main tracks between Barstow and San Bernardino. That's basically signaling. I mean, it does apply to us, but it's not that important. Block signals, approach 30. Summit passenger trains. At Summit, all freight trains where stop is not made must make a running air brake test between milepost 55 and 56. So that's going to be Summit to just a little bit past Summit is where they would do that. But yeah, we're not worried about that. We're leaving out of Martinez, the siding here. If train is stopped at Summit for any reason, an automatic brake application of not less than 10 PSI will be made and not released until ready to go. So that basically means you can't stop the train with 10, go full independent. You know, your independent may hold your train very well right there. I'm not really sure. I've never messed with it, but it could. If it could hold your train there, sometimes you see guys knock the air back off and let the brakes recharge. There ain't no doing that. Like until you're ready to go, you don't touch the brake. Let's see, some more stuff that doesn't pertain to us. Yeah, maximum speed permitted through turnouts. Yeah, 50 mile an hour through the crossovers. We won't have to worry about that, really. It's not going to be us. Here we go. Rule 956. Speed restrictions and special instructions governing the use of retainers for westbound freight trains Summit to San Bernardino. We're not going to use retainers because we got helpers on the bottom. We got good dynamics. Like, we're fine. It says number 1. Trains with all locomotives on the head end must not exceed an average of 115 tons per car, and trains with RCE radio control in operation or with helper locomotives at or near the rear of the train must not exceed 135 tons per car. Train tonnage excludes weight of the locomotives. All right, when they say tons per car, that's actually an early version of tons per operative brake. There's another timetable. I think it's the 1987 Santa Fe timetable for Cajon. Basically, that's the first time that I saw them reference tons per operative brake. But it's the same numbers. Like, nothing changed. Only the wording of it changed. So, we're running 130 tons per operative brake. So, now we're getting into the good stuff here. South track. Milepost 56.6 to Cajon. Operative dynamic brakes, average tonnage does not exceed 115 tons per car. You can do 15 exceptions. Average tonnage does not exceed 95 tons per car, and train tonnage does not exceed 4,500 tons. You can do 20. That doesn't apply to us. We're 9,000 tons, right? We're 130 tons per car. Without operative dynamic brakes, you cannot exceed an average of 85 tons per car, 15 mile an hour. That's interesting. Even with retainers, I guess. I'm not sure. Like, that's a little vague to me, but maybe it'll say something later on. With remotes or helpers in operation with dynamic brakes. So this is us. It says your average tonnage does not exceed 135 tons per car, tons per operative brake. So that's 15 mile an hour for us, right? Like, we're 130. We don't exceed that. I guess if you exceed that, it's a no-go, right? Like, you can't go down. What else we got? Average tonnage does not exceed 95 tons per car, and train tonnage does not exceed 4,500 tons. You could do 20 mile an hour. Well, that's not us. We're 9,000 tons. So, yeah, we're a 15 mile an hour train down the hill. Now, it says north track, milepost 56.6 to Cajon, and either track, Cajon to San Bernardino. So, you know, the double main, it splits off at Summit, but it comes back together at Cajon. So it's saying either track from Cajon to San Bernardino. If your average tonnage does not exceed 115 tons per car, you can do 20. If your average tonnage does not exceed 95 tons per car and train tonnage does not exceed 6,500 tons, you can do 30. It says without operative dynamic brakes, you cannot exceed 95 tons per car. You got to do 15 at that point. All right, for us, this is going to be us with helpers. Our average tonnage does not exceed 135 tons per car. We can do 20. So at that point, we can do 20, but there's another one, another exception here. If your average tonnage does not exceed 135 tons per car and your train tonnage is between 6,500 and 12,000 tons, we're 9,000 tons, we can do 25. So 25 is going to be our number. Train tonnage does not exceed 6,500 tons, you can actually do 30. With that said, we're going to try 25, but there's a problem I've run into that. I kind of tested it out the other day. And at 25 with 9,000 tons in a good set of air, it was about 15 pounds of air on the train. I was getting hot brakes. So I don't know. We'll give it a try and see. Maybe I can go deeper into dynamics and less air under the train and we might be okay. We might not get hot brakes. We'll just have to kind of see and hopefully not run away. Make the quick trip down, right? Like we don't want to do that. What else we got? Eater track Cajon to San Bernardino. The average tonnage does not exceed 95 tons per car and train tonnage does not exceed 4,500 tons and speed is controlled only with dynamic brakes. 35 mile an hour. You can do 35, believe it or not. If air brakes are used to control the speed of the train, you can only do 30. So if you have to use that, doesn't apply to us. So none of those stats meet our numbers. What else we got? Number 3, when it is known before leaving Summit that locomotives do not have operative dynamic brakes. Yeah, that's not us. We've got plenty of dynamic brakes. Here we go. With operative dynamic brakes and train pipe reduction exceeds 18 pounds to maintain authorized speed, train must be stopped immediately. To control train speed, a sufficient number of retainers starting behind the lead locomotive must be set in high pressure position before releasing the train. Before proceeding, the brake system must be fully charged. So that would be a whole big ordeal. Like if you can't control your train and you got to set retainers, you basically got to stop, tie it down, recharge your brakes, and set your retainers, and then knock all the handbrakes off. And it's a big deal. At any time a train stops, it is necessary to hold a train while the brake system is being recharged, starting at or behind the lead locomotive. Set a sufficient number of handbrakes. Before proceeding, handbrakes must be released. That would be a lot of handbrakes. I'm not sure what the rule says for that back then, or how, like, sometimes it varies, right? Like there could be a general blanket rule, but then they may have exceptions to that rule for a certain location. I'm probably pretty certain that there's an exception to Cajon. I just don't know what it is as far as handbrakes. When retainers are used, not less than 20 retainers must be set high pressure. They have to be turned down at 5th Street. Yeah, we shouldn't have to mess with retainers. If speed of train is, speed of trains must not be controlled exclusively with dynamic brakes and locomotive brakes when the train tonnage exceeds. Okay, yeah, that's not us either. So, I think we're good. Basically, we're a 15 mile an hour train from Summit to Cajon, and then supposedly we'd be able to do 25 from Cajon to San Bernardino, but that's going to be kind of a hot, like, that's going to be a wild ride in my book. I don't know. I mean, if I'm reading that correctly, TOPB doesn't exceed 135 tons per car, and our train is 9,000 tons, so our tonnage is between 65 and 12,000 tons. Yeah, 25. That's going to be a wild ride. I'm actually more worried about that than going down the South Track. So we'll see. Let's go ahead and get back on our train, and we'll get out of here. There we go. All right, we're set. Let's hop in. I think 81 UP would have had a different scheme, right? Like it would have said Union Pacific on the nose, and it would have had the shield over here under the numbers. A little bit different, but close enough, right? All right, guys, let's do this. No auto today. We're going to do it ourselves. Actually, we need to line ourselves. Okay, yeah, we'll line ourselves all the way through. Down to Cajon. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. I think what we'll do is just cross over at... we'll cross over down here at the depot, maybe. Maybe there, or maybe further on down. We might cross over right there, actually. Let's do that. We won't go the whole way. I was looking for 5th Street. Where is 5th Street at? I'm not sure on that. That's 7th. So I guess 5th is going to be further south a little bit, maybe. I'm not sure. I need to look that up. I've never looked at it. That's where the retainers would be turned out or turned off if you had to set them, but we shouldn't have to worry about that. All right, so we're lined up. We're ready to go. Actually, let's do this real fast. Let's go symbol mode. We have no one to meet. It's just us. There we go. DBLB. You remember back in the day, back in the 80s, the symbols and stuff were a lot different. Right? Everything was completely different. It wasn't anything like what it is now. All right, there we go. Good with that. And we'll release the air. All right, here we go. We blasting off, guys. This is it's a whole experience going down Cajon, right? Like this, it's a thing of like patience and concentration. You know, that's what it's about. You know, patience and concentration. You can't take your eyes off the ball for a second, or it'll get away from you. So what we're going to do is just ease up there. Now, I'm not sure. You know, we knocked the brakes off. We got a little ways to go before we start on the downhill. I don't know how they would have done this in real life. Would they just drag it with the brakes on with the 10 pound set? Or would they knock them off, just kind of creep down there, give them time to recharge, and then reset them? I'm not sure. This is a little crossing here, Summit Crossing. Something like a UP horn, kind of, maybe a little bit. Kind of a loud horn too, man. All right, let's keep easing on down. We don't have to worry about the grade right here. It's not a thing. It doesn't really start dropping off. Like, I don't even think we've crested it yet. I think it's kind of flat right here. Yeah, 0.0. Summit would be through this cut right here where it starts dropping. Believe it or not, this isn't the original alignment. Like, I think, what did they realign this through Summit? Like back in the 60s or 70s, maybe late 60s, early 70s, it was completely different. The tracks was actually, the profile was a little higher. I think it kind of went at the top of this cut right here. Completely different layout though. It's pretty cool. And then they realigned it, made some changes to it. Look it up. Search for Old Summit. If you're not familiar with it, search for Old Summit from back in the day. You'll find plenty of stuff. I think there's construction pictures of like when they were realigning it. All right, there we go. Just keep easing out. Like I said, helpers are ahead of the caboose. You know, I've read on that here and there from time to time, and like it's changed so much. It's like I said, sometimes helpers were ahead of the caboose, sometimes they were behind the caboose, sometimes they, like when they were pushing, they were ahead, and then when they went to like the downhill side of Cajon, they had to go around behind the caboose. So either way, like just pick something and you would be right at some point, right? Like it may not be perfectly correct for this time period, but I'm guessing they would cut the helpers out down at I've seen, like, I was thinking like between Baseline and Vertimont, there's a little siding down there called Ono. Oop, we don't get that. We don't get an application. There's a little siding down there called Ono. I thought they would cut them out down there, and I think what I read, what they used to do, and this may be the steam engine days, where they'd cut the cab off, they'd tie it down on the main, then they'd pull ahead a little bit, and they'd cut the helpers off, and they'd run them in the siding, and then they would line the switch back and release the handbrake on the cab and kind of let it coast down to the train, and then couple, like, there's different ways they could have done it, you know. All right, we got to watch. Like, we really got to pay attention on this. That's it. We don't, you know, at 15 mile an hour, you don't have a whole lot of wiggle room. We're already in the 30 mile an hour downhill. I don't really want to exceed, I don't want to exceed 10 right yet. Watch these big SD45-2s coasting by. Those are definitely like, you hear them talk about locomotives back in the day, calling them jacks, big jacks. If they had 6 axles, they say we got 2 big jacks on the bottom, but those definitely fit that. All right, come on, let me in. Uh-oh, it's not letting me in. Why are you not letting me in? There we go. That kind of spooked me for a second. I was like, no, please, not now. I don't know why it kept kicking me out. I run into that from time to time. All right, we're back in idle. We're going to set up dynamics in a minute. Like I said, I don't know. I'm wondering like that they had like a specific procedure where they crested like what they did. You know, it's like that. I'm sure they probably do now. Back in the day, things were kind of vague, you know, like it didn't just completely spell it out for you as far as what you needed to do, at least the stuff that I found. And I think because a lot of that information was just kind of taught and handed down, right? Like it wasn't just put in text. All right, now you see where the grade starts to drop off a little bit right here. That's where it really starts to pick up. Let's go ahead and go in dynamic. We may get a little bit slow, but I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Like, do we want to grab a minimum? Do we want to just use dynamic? I don't know. I think it would be really dicey if you just like put all your eggs in dynamic starting out, because what if one dropped out on you? Right? And you don't have any air under your train. What if one of your dynamic brakes dropped out? In fact, I think get a minimum. Bail it off. And we're going to drag it, right? We're going to drag it down. We'll see. I may have messed up. Like, you know, we're playing around with it. We're seeing what works, right? This is roughly, what, a 3% grade, give or take, going down. Maybe a little bit over. It's already a -1 right here. I just hate the thought of rolling up and like getting established in this with nothing in it, but like on Tehachapi, you would roll up into it with dynamics, you go deeper and deeper. At least what I like to do, go deeper and deeper in dynamics, and then once you get to a certain point, for me like B5, B6, then you grab a little air and then you start backing out and kind of transitioning, balancing it. But on Cajon, I'm not really sure. I tell you, I'm not a West Coast guy. You know, I've told y'all plenty of times, I'm not a West Coast guy. A little bit more air. All right, there we go. We're back out. 2.45 down, so it's starting to really pick up. This is comparable to Tehachapi at this point, right? I backed out of the throttle all the way to idle, like in preparation for going into dynamics, but it looks like she's slowing down a little bit on us. We've got about, what, about 8 pounds right now, maybe? See what it says. 84 or 6, so we got 6 pounds right now. We got one car that's got in-op brakes. Let's get a little bit more. Let's go into dynamics. Go ahead and get 10. All right, kind of gather it up a little bit here because we're kind of stretched out, right? A little bit fast, 16.3. All right, there we go. We're down to 79 pounds. Whew, slag just ran out big time on it. Watching that number there. Yeah, I'm watching, like, it's a little bit like I've got a better idea of what my brakes are doing looking at the HUD. There we go, 14.8. All right, I think we're good. Let's see what the train looks like. What kind of stress she under here? Bunched a little bit on the head end, pull tight on the bottom. Cab's just hanging out on the bottom there too. We've got one car with in-op brakes. It's great, right? Exactly what we needed. A little bit fast. Let's see what she does. Speed's coming on down. I don't know what our grade is. I think we're on one of the steeper sections right here. 3.4. Nice. Yeah. So we've got, what? We're at 77, so we got 13 under right now. Like I said, when I tried this the other day, and we did the 25 from Summit to... or not, from Cajon to San Bernardino, we got hot brakes. Like, it just multiple times. Like, we're getting popped by the DDs like crazy. That was with 15 pounds of air up under it. I mean, if you look in the timetable, it said we could go as deep as 18 if we wanted to. But I'm trying not to. Like, we're at 13. We'll see. We'll see what she does. There we go. 15, little hair over 15. And the thing is, like, doing 15 down South Track, like, you don't have much wiggle room before you squat. I mean, what I mean by a squat is your train just basically comes to a stop. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it does. We could absolutely, I mean, it's not a problem. You could just pull on it if you wanted to. Nothing wrong with pulling your train downhill. You know, I don't know if that's acceptable now, but back in the day, they did it all the time. You could absolutely pull your train downhill. And we may have to. We may have to from Summit. It's not quite as bad from Summit, just a little bit south. We may have to pull on her a little bit to get her down through there. I think like through Blue Cut. I think Blue Cut was a spot where they used to have to pull on them back in the day. We'll see. I don't have quite as much air under it, so we may not have to. We'll just have to see what she does, really. See, we're really deep into dynamics. That makes me a little bit antsy, right? Makes me a little nervous going that deep into dynamics. Like we're like flirting with B8 here, which tells me we need a little bit more air. But we're getting closer and closer to 15, which means we're going to get hot brakes on the bottom side, like between Cajon and San Bernardino. So it's like, what do you do? It's catch 22, right? We might could get a little bit more. See what that does. Maybe that'll make a difference. That's going to be 14 right there. We could go as deep as 18. Like I said, per the timetable, we could go as deep as 18. I don't think they can do that anymore. I think it's like, what, 16 or something? But maybe. I'm not sure. That's just a number I'm throwing out of my head. I don't think it's as deep as 18. I could be wrong. All right, there we go. You can see it's come on down to 14, so we can come out of the dynamics a little bit here.
DNSS detector, milepost 58.6, main 2.
Like I said, game of patience. Just kind of adjust your dynamics a little bit. Don't go crazy with it, right? Or you'll overcorrect and then you'll have problems. This may be a long video, guys. It may be a little bit longer than usual. We'll see. So anyway, back to the export coal. Yeah, export coal was a thing. Coal going down to the LA basin has been a thing for a while. The very first unit coal train that they ever ran down into LA that I know of, that I've seen in my research, was the Kaiser coal trains. They went to Kaiser Steel, I think in Fontana's where it was at, and their unit coal trains. This is another joint UP Rio Grande venture where they took coal down to this steel mill down there. I want to say they started that in the late 60s maybe. I'd have to go back and look at the exact dates, but I want to say late 60s, like 68, 69, something like that. So they did that. Pretty cool. The whole reason why the Rio Grande billboard scheme that is like the most famous one was because of those Kaiser coal trains. Prior to that, they had the small font that said Rio Grande on the side. And when they started running the Kaiser coal trains down to the LA basin, down to Kaiser, they had to supply so many of their own locomotives to the pool, right? Like Union Pacific and Rio Grande pooled cars and locomotives together. I want to say UP like provided the bulk of the material because they did it by mileage, like how much of the mileage. They had the total mileage and then what percentage of the mileage was UP, and that turned out to be the percentage of equipment that they had to use, like as far as cars and locomotives, caboose, and stuff like that. But Rio Grande wound up having some of their engines going down to the LA basin too regularly. They're part of the pool. And so marketing said this would be a good time to get our name out there apart from our own little regional area here in Colorado. So they came up with a big billboard scheme on the side of the locomotives, and it was all advertisement, right? Like that's why they did that. All right, she seems to be better with 14. Yeah, she seems to be better with 14. She's doing better. I feel better about it now. I don't like going to like B8. B8 makes me really nervous about it.
DNSS detector, milepost 58.6,
defects. All right, we're good on that. Yeah, so coal, you know, the Kaiser coal trains were the first.
0, train speed 14 mph.
Santa Fe also provided some of the coal too out of York Canyon in New Mexico. They ran some trains down there. There's a lot of famous pictures of them taking their York Canyon coal trains down Cajon with like SD26s and stuff like that. But they provided some coal, and then also later on, so that was in the late 60s through the 70s. I guess that was the only coal train that went down there, and then later on towards the 80s, maybe the late 70s is when they started exporting down there. I'm not sure exactly what the first export terminal was in LA. They've had a few. I think one of the big ones was Metropolitan Stevedore. I think that one's still around. I think that's one of the ones that they use now. Maybe it may not be called that anymore. They had another coal terminal that they built down there. Actually, the city of Los Angeles built it. It was called LAXT. They built it in the late 90s. $400 million, and it never did what they thought it was supposed to do. Like, it never exported the coal that they thought it was. I think it was something like 10 trains. Maybe something like 10 trains a week. It was a crazy amount. Like, they were expecting Cajon to be a mini Powder River Basin, and it never happened. Like, LAXT would go through spurts where they would export so much coal for a while, and then it wouldn't see anything for months or not a year, you know, and then they would export coal. So it was never, I guess it was never steady like they thought it would be. I think they were expecting to have, like, export coal rolling out of there consistently all the time, and that never happened. All right, we're fine. She seems to be doing real good now. I'm actually quite pleased with it. Seems like she's wanting to kind of hang out between B5 and B6, between those two. Like I said, just have to watch it like a hawk. You can't take your eyes off. Let's run a little bit fast right here. There our train, what our graph looks like here. Yeah, not bad. Bunch pretty good on the head end. A little bit of pull on the bottom. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. Got the one brake that's just absolutely not doing anything whatsoever. You'd think if you had too many of those cars with in-op brakes, you'd have a bad day really fast, right? I think, what is this, Mormon Rocks here? Like I said, I don't know much about Cajon, honestly, like the rail fan locations. I know there's like specific spots that people like to go to. Man, wouldn't it be cool if we had track IR with this? I'd like that, to be able to like look around. Any of you West Coast guys that run down Cajon regularly, have you ever had a runaway? Have you had like your dynamics drop out on you or something happened and you run away? They're just getting a little slow here now. It's getting a lot slow. I guess that curve's kind of dragging us down a little bit. That seems to be better. Yeah, like I said, she'll squat so quick on you. She'll squat really fast. 15 mile an hour isn't much. It's not a lot of wiggle room. She'll be stopped on you before you even know it. she's hovering around 15. Yeah, I'm more worried about hot brakes. That's really concerning to me. We may, especially if we do 25, we may very well get hot brakes, even though it says. But then again, because it does say that in the timetable, doesn't necessarily mean like that was the golden rule. There may be guys back then that were like, you know what, we need to go down at like 20 instead of 25. The rule in the timetable says 25, but I like to go down at 20. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you could do that, but it's better if you do this. Alright, now she's wanting to run fast on us a little bit. Grade's 3%. I guess 3.4 is the max. Which is about 1% more than Tehachapi. This is dead serious business. Like, there's been people, killed going down Cajon on runaways and stuff like that. Santa Fe's had runaways. Southern Pacific's had runaways. Some pretty famous ones. I don't know if old school UP ever had a runaway. I'm talking about pre-SP merger, right? I'm talking about old school UP when they just had their trackage rights on the Santa Fe from, what is that place called up there? Where's it at? I don't see it. What is that place called up there on the other side of Barstow where the UP comes in to the Santa Fe? It's just south of Yermo, right? Either way, I don't know if old school UP had if they've ever had a runaway on Cajon. I don't think they have. Like I said, I know Santa Fe has, I know Southern Pacific has, but I don't know if UP ever did. We're talking about the good UP. My favorite UP, pre-SP, right? The merger with SP just messed everything up. Talking about back in the day, the golden age of UP where they had DD40s and stuff like that going up and down Cajon. Ran trackage rights down to Riverside. I would love to see that portion of the line finish, the OG UP line into LA. I mean, I know it's just another route into LA. I think it would be more significant if we could do if we had more historical equipment and could do more historical ops, then it would be a lot more important. Like now it doesn't really matter that much, but you can see it looks like the grade kind of lessens a little bit right here. It's not quite as steep. At some point, we're going to transition into power and start pulling on this thing. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of old school UP. I don't care about the the conglomeration they have now. After the SP merger. Like I said, the SP merger messed everything up. The BN Santa Fe merger messed everything up, right? Like it was so much better prior to all that. Just getting a little fast on us. Let's get her back down. All right, there we go. Looking good. So our video coming in at 45 minutes right now. Yeah, she's going to be a long one, guys. hopefully y'all are enjoying it. If you are, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, do all the things, right? They always help. All right, now she's starting to really. It's like when she slows up, it's really fast. It's like I said, it's in the blink of an eye. She's either going to get away from you in the blink of an eye or slow up. Alright, so we're coming in Cajon. This is where things change, right? So we're off the south track, or I guess we still we are technically, but this is where I'm afraid she'd squat on us here. So from this point, once we get by it, we should be able to do 25. I'm a little iffy on that. We'll see. I think we're going to get popped by a DD with hot brakes doing 25 with a 14-pound set. I could be wrong, but I think that's going to happen. We'll see. We may just do 20. I may play it safe and we'll just do 20. 20 is better than 15. Is not as good as 25, but we may just do 20. Either way, we made it past the hard part. 1.99 or 2% grade now. So a 9,000 tons, almost 9,200 tons, 14-pound set. We use B6, B5 to B6. I just gotta watch that speed. I don't want to squat. They're all the way out of dynamics. Yeah, let's start pulling on it. There, we have to watch it. Let's go ahead and count off from here. I don't know where that's like the specific milepost is at for us. Whatever it said. Yeah, it just says Cajon, so it doesn't even say a specific milepost. It just says Cajon, so I guess from the crossover there is what we're going to call it. Alright, she's getting a little bit fast on it. She didn't squat as much here as she did last time when I had 15 pounds under. We'll just kind of go with it. We're going to fudge it just a tad. It's not, it'll be fine. All right, let's go ahead and go back in dynamics. Yeah, last time I had to drag it like crazy through there, guys. It's just that little bit of air made a huge difference. watch a little bit here. I don't want to get too crazy with it until our bottom clears, Cajon. It seems like she's wanting to squat again now. A lot of it is that delay, okay? So we've got a helper on the bottom, but it's kind of working like remotes, so it's not instantaneous response. You know, if you had a helper crew back there, they would be doing a certain specific thing, like, you know, it wouldn't be a problem. Like, they may stay in dynamics the whole way at a certain amperage and not touch it, you know, just shoot for that amperage. And then the head end does everything else to control the speed. It depends. All right, we just cleared. We're only 4,000 feet long, a hair over. All right, so now we should be able to do 20. We'll see what she does. Yeah, huge difference. Huge difference with this 14 pounds of air. I want to say last time it was 15. It may have been 16. I'm not 100% sure, but either way, a big difference, right? Spur's doing a huge no-no right now. I'm looking on my phone at something. Someone just sent me a text, so I gotta check that. But it's like a huge no-no. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's good. It's like a surefire way to have a runaway, right? And if it's real life, you're going to get fired really quick. All right, there we go. I think we're good with that. Yeah, don't do that. That's a huge rules violation, right? Nowadays it is. Nowadays it is. When I worked for the railroad, I didn't even have a cell phone. Back in the early 2000s, I had a pager. Believe it or not, I had a pager. That's how they got in touch with me. It was way different back then. Yeah, I'm worried about hot brakes. That is definitely a concern right here. We could do 25. I think that's... I don't know. We don't have as much air under it. I just think... I really don't have to deal with hot brakes. I mean, basically all we would do is just stop and let them cool off, but... We'll see what she does. Hopefully not. What's our next DD? I can't remember where our next DD is at. Alright, it just made transition. Okay, that kind of spooked me for a second. I heard that little RPM change, right? We just made forward transition. That's what that was. That's probably more of like an SP style horn in a UP. I think they had like a P3 or something, maybe. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what we got right now. Like, what are we using? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. P3, oh, yeah, it is a P3, okay. All right, here's our DD. Let's see if we get hot brakes. Keep your fingers crossed, right? All right, just made backwards transition. Yeah, someone asked in an earlier video, had I ever taken a heavy train down Cajon? I have before. I've taken a few, but this is the first one on video. This is a first for us, guys. First time. I hardly ever take heavy trains up. It's just, it's so monotonous. It's like that. Any major grade, anywhere in railroading, it's really monotonous going up, right? Like you just put it number 8 and you sit back and put your feet up and let it do its thing. But I think the empty version of this train would be pretty cool to take uphill, right? Like it was called the symbol for it was going to be XLBDB was the empty version. Man, it just keeps floating right around transition speed. Yeah, XLBDB. Yeah, lots of cool symbols back in the day. They had vans. Super van was some of the ones that went down Cajon on the UP. They had CLS. California Livestock Special, even though it didn't really haul livestock at that point. It just still had the symbol, right? They had the CN. The CN hauled a lot of empties out of LA back east. And there, she's gotten fast on us. We're sure enough going to wind up with hot brakes now. Let's see. Get her slowed down a little bit here. Just kind of hanging out between 20 and 25.
DNSS detector, milepost 66.5, main 2. Stop your train.
Yep.
Stop your train. Hotbox at axle 3, 2. Hotbox at axle 4, 8. Hotbox at axle 5, 2. Hotbox at axle 5, 6. Hotbox at axle 1, 4, 4. Hotbox at
Yeah, we got a lot of hot brakes, guys. Yeah, we sure do. Yeah, I was worried about that. Even at 20, I was kind of worried about that. All right, let's go ahead and stop. We'll show you how to stop. We'll have to let them sit and cool for a minute. Yeah, I was worried about that. I've read stories of trains, especially when they had the cast iron brake shoes going down Cajon. It'd be like rings of fire, right? Like, so they got hot. They got hot. It's just for whatever reason we can't observe what they did back in 1981 without getting hot brakes. Unfortunately, it's just not doable. We'll stop here. We'll hang out for a bit. We'll let them cool down and then we'll proceed. And I even went back. I went back through the ETT and stuff, trying to see maybe if they had something in there where you had to stop at like Cajon and let them cool or something, but it's not there. So I don't think it was a problem in real life, but in game it is a problem for some reason. All right, let's get full independent in here. Feather it on and off. If you watch the gauge, you see I just going on and off, on and off. There we go. So we haven't touched the big brake, right? Like it's the same. It's still the same 14-pound set. Nothing's changed on that. We use dynamics to get us on down to just almost stopped, right? And then we feathered the independent on and off until it stopped us. So what we're going to do is we're going to hang out here for a bit. I'm going to get up and take care of a few things, and the brakes will cool down. We'll come back and finish up. All right, guys, we're back. We let it sit here for a while and cool off. You see first car's down to 91 degrees. 93. We're just kind of spot checking them here and there. 89. 92. Yeah, they're fine. It's cooled down. Yeah, it's just... we got a good bit of air up under it. We're rolling at 20 mile an hour. I thought maybe 14 pounds at 20 mile an hour wouldn't be that much. You know what we saw in the timetable, right? It just didn't work out. It didn't work out that way. So what we need to do is to get this thing rolling again. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is ease out the independent. We don't want to just like dump all the locomotive brakes at one time, right? Like we want to kind of ease out. We don't want the head end to run out. We don't, yeah, we want to be careful about this. We may have to pull on it. There we go. Let's see what that does. Well, she kind of rolled a little bit. I think that may have been the slack that was bunched up from the dynamics, right? Kind of like pushing it out, right? Yeah, independents are fully released. So at this point, what we're going to have to do is go into power and pull on her just a little bit. Yeah, we're just going to have to pull on her just a tad here. There we go. All right, she's moving now. We should be good. Yeah, I don't want to let go of the air. Not really at this point. I still don't want to let go of the air. Dynamics definitely won't hold it on this grade if we let go of the air, and like we'll just have to go right back into it. We won't be able to recharge it. Like it's going to be a whole big deal. So we're not going to be able to let go of the air. Like what we've got is what we've got. Unless you guys know something better than that, like better than me, you could very well, but maybe we could stop. We could stop, tie down handbrakes, recharge it, and then start over, but if we'd stayed at 15 going down, it may not have been as bad. All right, she's coming on up to 10. We're good. We'll pull it a little bit, and then we'll go back in dynamics. 2.2%. So this is still comparable to Tehachapi, right? So that's why I say we can't let go of the air. You wouldn't let go of the air on Tehachapi at all. You'd have a bad day if you did. Yeah, I want to say it's roughly, what, 2%-ish all the way down to San Bernardino, down to that big curve, just about somewhere down in there, maybe. All right, I think we could go back in dynamics now. We've got up to 25 per the timetable. You're a little bit slower. I want to get her back more around 20. I mean, it doesn't make that much of a difference, right? It's still got hot brakes, but we'll see. Let's go with that. All right, let's go to this view right here. See what our brakes are doing. 238 already, man. Those things are heating up fast, right? 76. Why is this one so hot? This is 24 axles, 25, 26, 27, 28. $265, $264. You see, they heat up really fast, right? They heat up really fast. You know what? Let's try something. Let's try this just for the heck of it. Let's get it down to 15 again. Let's see what it does. Let's see what the brake temps do. I want to see if they start coming back down a little bit. Hopefully we had a light there. I'm sure we did. I know I set us up good for that. All right. So it's hovering around 265. It doesn't look like it's going up anymore at this point. Yeah, well, yeah, I say that. 266 now. That's the car that doesn't have any brakes on it. Yeah, that's the one. They're not working. 283. Nice, man. 286. 287. Yeah, they're still going up. It's at what point does it trigger a hot box? See, that's honestly, that's kind of iffy to me. Getting a hot box, hitting a DD with stuck brakes. And the reason why I say that, and I know I've talked about this before, I had a train one time where we had a car. It was a molten sulfur train. It was empty going back north, and it was about 70 tank cars, molten sulfur tank cars, maybe 60 or 70, something like that. And unbeknownst to us, we had a car with a tight handbrake on it about 50 something deep. I don't know how that happened. Like to this day, I don't know how that happened, but there's 50 something deep, about 55 deep. We had a car with a tight handbrake. We took that thing over the entire subdivision. Line speed, empty train, so we moved good. We had 3 units on the head end. Line speed for about 190 miles with a tight handbrake on it, and we were never hit once by a DD. The only reason we knew we had a stuck brake was the very last train we met in the very last siding before we got to our away terminal told us, said, "You need to stop right now, K-train, you got a stuck brake." About 2/3 back. And so we stopped and I walked back and found it. And it was literally, the wheels were so hot, they had turned blue. The metal had turned blue. I could feel the heat coming off of them from like 10 feet away. And it had big curls, like the brake shoes had worn down to where it was like bare metal on bare metal, and it was like a big lathe, like they had shaved off big curls of metal off the tread of the wheel, and it was all wrapped up in the brake rigging and the trucks and stuff like that. So they were hot. It was a whole big ordeal. Like, because of that happening, like 7 other trains went dead, and a yard crew had to come get it, and they had to take it at like 5 miles an hour to the next spot where they could set it out or something like that. It was a huge ordeal. We're going to wind up squatting here. Yeah, we are. It was a huge deal. You see the brakes are cooling off though. It's coming back down. It was 284 now. It's, yeah. So it was a huge deal, right? We never got hit by a DD the entire trip. And I guarantee you that handbrake was on the entire way. It was on the whole way. There's no way it could have been, like, unless just someone randomly went back there and tied it on. It was on the whole way. It was on the whole way that we had it, and it was probably on prior to that too. But my point is, the DD never picked it up for whatever reason. The big NS derailment that they just had that long ago with what happened with all the chemicals, I thought there was something to that. The DDs didn't pick them up either. And all right, let's build these brakes off here. We got a little bit going there. There we go. All right, let's go. start pulling on it here. She's wanting to squat, but yeah, at this point, I'm okay with that because I'd rather the brakes cool off a little bit. But you get my point. Like that, I'm not saying it never happens right, but I don't ever like. Remember having stuck brakes a few times and never getting popped by a DD. I don't know why I didn't pick that up. Yeah, I remember when we had the car with a handbrake on it and we drug it like 190 miles. I remember being shocked that like I said, they had turned blue. The wheels were blue by the time I got back there to it. They had already turned blue. It was a mess, man. They were chewed up like crazy. And I remember being like blown away that not a single DD had popped us with that. As hot as they were. And I don't know why. I don't know why that happened. You know, and the funny thing is, like, we met multiple trains along the way too, and maintenance away crews as well too. Like, they had some big maintenance away projects going on out there, some surface gangs, tie gangs, stuff like that. We met, no one ever said a word. No one ever said a word until we met that last train at the last siding, and that dude was an old head. Like, he had been around for ages, and he caught it, but no one else did. No one else did. No one else caught that stuck handbrake, but he did. Like I said, it was tight. It was tight. I grabbed the chain, right? Like, you couldn't even move the chain. Like, it was so tight. It was on there. It wasn't like a light handbrake or anything. It was tight. Yeah, you see the temps already coming up big time. 295. Let's go ahead. Let's experiment with that. Let's let our speed going up. We'll do like 20 to 25. Like I said, the ETT says we can do 25, right? We look at it again here. We'll pull it up. It says North Track 56.6 to Cajon, or either track Cajon to San Bernardino. Average ton does not exceed 135 tons per car. That's tons per operative brake. 20 mile an hour tonnage between 6,500 and 12,000 tons 25. So going by that, we should be able to do 25. But all right, so we had to skip ahead a bit because Spur forgot to take that timetable down. So we're just now going by Vertimont, and we've got hot brakes. You guys didn't really miss anything. There you go. We got hot brakes, right? Yeah, we've absolutely got hot brakes.
Hot box at axle 3, 2. Hot box at axle 4, 8. Hot box at axle 5, 2. Hot box at axle 5, 6. Hot box at axle 6, 4. Total axle 3, 2, 0.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that. Like I said, I've drug a train with stuck brakes and a handbrake on it, and we never got hit by a DD anywhere. I don't know. I don't know how that would work out, but either way, we're not able to run this train at the speeds that the timetable gives us, right? Like, we're not able to do it. Yeah, the figures, I'll leave the timetable up. Like I said, y'all don't really miss anything. Y'all get the gist of it. We're going downhill. We're getting hot brakes. Like, it is what it is. We're coming up on the Vertimont crossover, and then Ono has just passed it. We're just going to keep going with it. I wonder, do we have a more UP style horn than that P3R4? Nope, not that. No. Maybe that might kind of be something like a UP. I've heard some pretty sick UP horns back in the day, right? Let's see what our temp is now back there. $358, a little bit. $295. Some are heating up more than others, so some of these are okay. That's the one that's not working. Those brakes aren't working. $379, nice. $294. I think this spot over here on the right is Ono. Don't ask me why it's called Ono. It can't be good, right? A siding or a storage track at the bottom of a 3% grade called Ono cannot be good. Like, I don't know who or how they came up with that. I'm almost certain that spot was called Ono, though. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I could be wrong. Research for yourself. Slow up a little bit. She's getting fast. We're really heating them brakes up now. I wonder what she would have done brake temp wise if we done 12 pounds, but 12 pounds just wasn't a thing. Like, we were in B8 the whole way. Like, we would have been in B8 pretty much the entire time, I feel like. B7, B8. Yeah, we'll get down here to Ono and we'll see. Yeah, you guys leave a comment below. Let me know your experience if you're regular on Cajon. Let me know experience with brake temps and stuff like that. Let me know what you think of the old school speed restrictions and stuff. I'm not sure how that compares to nowadays. I still think it's about, like, for a heavy train, it's still 15 down. I don't think it's changed a whole lot. Yeah, this is gonna be Ono right here, this hand throw. I'm guessing that is, that's going to be baseline. Yeah, that's going to be baseline. Yeah, we'll call it right here. Take one more look at her. Nice looking consist. I love the, especially the old school UP stuff in the Rio Grande, man. You can't get into a more interesting, railroading operation than the joint like UP Rio Grande coal trains down into Southern California in the 70s and 80s. Like I said, the Kaiser train, the export train to Long Beach Metropolitan Stevedore. Later on, it was to LAXT. LAXT got tore up. They actually wound up tearing that up. It was only around, they spent $400 million, and I want to say it was only around for about 10 years, maybe a little bit more, something like that. So yeah, huge failure on the city of LA's part, right? But I mean, is there any surprise to that like that was a huge waste? Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this one. Love all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, ring that bell, leave me a comment, and we'll catch you on the rails next time. Peace. Powerful. I don't think. What was that? Oh, it was horrible. Slam on the brakes. If you're not sitting down, you are now. What? No, big cat, no. Stop. Oh, no, kitty, go.